Hi everyone, welcome. The assortment of food that I have here is the leaves from a bunch or maybe two bunches of radishes, as well as a couple pretty good sized chubby cucumbers down here, and as you can see there's 2 days worth of coffee here, and that includes the coffee filters. If part of this looks familiar, because there was a feeding 11 days ago where I fed radish leaves and cucumbers, and that was here. These African night crawlers were fed almost the exact same meal 11 days ago. And my guess is that if it's stuff like radish leaves or cucumber, that stuff might have already been gone after a week or less. So I'll tell you the truth, if we were to find leftovers of either of those things in here today, I would be a little bit surprised. Well, you know, I do see a couple of coffee filters. Well, I see this one. I don't see that one yet, but that would suggest that we could reuse the old coffee filters because we have replacement feeding zone indicators that we can deploy. So these that are now in use for perhaps one interval between feedings, or maybe they were already in use last time too, I can't recall. But today they get promoted to becoming the bedding that accompanies the feeding versus just sitting out on the top surface. Last time we came in, I do remember we it's only because I replayed the video for myself last from the last check-in. We did notice a couple worms that were mating out on the surface, but I don't see that happening here today. Very dry piece of cardboard, and I could feel a little bit of dryness here too, over there as well. Last time we came in here with the squirt bottle to try to compensate for a little bit of dry material that we encountered on the edges, and in the end it almost made me wonder if it was excessive, you know? But the little bit of dry material that I see here and there is greatly outweighed by nice damp material everywhere. You want to keep in mind these cucumbers bringing with them a little bit of moisture, these leaves as well, I'm sure, as they thaw. Since they're coming fresh out of the freezer, they'll probably expel their moisture much more quickly than if they had just been put in here without being frozen first. So I wonder if we'll see leftovers. Seems very unlikely. I'm not talking about leftover radish leaves or leftover cucumber. I seriously doubt that, but well, yeah, here we go. These bananas were found as leftovers during the last check-in, going back who knows how many feedings now. Perhaps only to the previous feeding. And, oh, there we go. I was a little bit sloppy with the preparation of the radish leaves last time, and each system received a bonus rubber band, which I knew that would be picked clean of all the leaves that were tangled in the rubber band. I spent like a good 30 seconds trying to disconnect the rubber band from all the bunch of leaves that it was attached to, and I couldn't pull it off, and I just said, you know what, we'll remove it after all the leaves have been taken care of. So we'll have another one over in the other system too. Here and there I found some leftovers besides these banana peels that we sort of stacked up over here. I believe there was another stem of a banana. The stem of the banana with even a little bit of the peel hanging off of it. Those go back a couple feedings, but the stuff eventually goes just a little bit tougher when it comes to the stem and the peel. Alright, let's keep an eye out. There it is. I knew we'd be zeroing in on it pretty soon. It was so awkward watching, it was uncomfortable watching the video last time of me attempting to remove the rubber band while it was all tangled up in the leaves. What on earth is this? Alrighty. Alright, wow, it's interesting. Very interesting, as a matter of fact. It's funny, we were dealing with some cabbage in these bins that was, you know, we'd come back over and over again. Instead of it being gone with the worms eating it, we would come back and we would keep encountering bits of the cabbage that would insist on keep trying to grow over many feedings. I eventually just removed the stuff, put it back in the freezer, because I originally fed it to the worms assuming that I had frozen it adequately enough. And then last time we actually came in to find that the very persistent cabbage had finally been consumed by the wormies after a second freezing, and a return to the worm bins after that. But this, I assume, is the stem of one of the heads of cabbage. I was listening to the way I was narrating and explaining what this was last time. I looked at the color of it, and it made me think that perhaps it was the stem of a head of cauliflower, just because it's white. But I mean, I had a whole bunch of cabbage, so it's either cauliflower or maybe part of all that cabbage that was finally eaten by the worms. Just that stem looked so interesting, it made me wonder if we might encounter another one over here, because I think each system had a very similar stem to that. But, you know, we've still got to add the food and cover up afterwards. So let's not forget that we wanted to put this old feeding zone indicator to a somewhat more prestigious use rather than just sitting out on the top surface. We'll let the new one take over in that regard. And then I think we can start coming in with some of the foods, but I've also got a couple huge napkins that I'd like to do away with. So why don't we take a quick peek to see if there's any red rubber bands in this stuff. Alright. It seems like the rubber bands were successfully removed from this bunch of radish leaves. So we won't have to go fishing it out later. But now I've already taken these big, huge, luxurious napkins and sort of unfolded them to enable them to cover a nice big area so that they don't just end up becoming a big mound, but rather they become something that the worms can utilize as bedding and or as food. This is the napkin I was using when I was eating some strawberries. So we've still got some yummy food to finish dispensing here. We'll plop in the coffee, and that'll help us pretty much cover up all this napkin. Man, what a difference. The stuff over there, right here, was what has been sitting outside for a couple days dry, and this is the stuff I just removed from the machine, and it's like so sticky it didn't even want to come out of the filter. So that's our feeding. Let's just hijack a little bit of material from these outer edges to facilitate covering up the feeding zone, and now we'll try to size up these outer edges to see if they're still in need of added moisture. That's what we ended up doing last time. We came up with the spray bottle and we squirted a little bit of water in here. These are those shopping bag handles that we started these systems out with all those weeks ago. So yeah, 77-day-old systems fed 7 times up until now. This is feeding 8 coming in. So all those 7s and 8s plus the 11 days since the last feeding all seemed like easy to remember numbers, either equivalent numbers or rhyming numbers. 7-11. Not to mention, at least in my area, there's a chain of convenience stores that are also named the same thing, so it's a pretty common thing to see almost every day around where I live. So I did think about all those other top coverings that we have in these systems here. A little bit unusual for us to go beyond putting out perhaps a feeding zone indicator and a top covering of newspaper like so. But in here we've even gone so far as to include yet another layer of cardboard for some reason. So perhaps the next time, since these pieces of paper are starting to show their age. This one here is holding up pretty good, but that one has full of holes and everything, you know, so maybe these pieces of newspaper will get promoted next time too, rather than sitting out here on the surface, kind of just basking in the recirculating moisture beneath the plastic. We'll put them to better use, and we're down near the food, pretty much guaranteeing that they'll get utilized as part of a wormy's meal. So that's it for our check-in now with the 77-day-old African nightcrawler systems. Looking really good. Systems are fun to check in on. Even though these are African nightcrawlers and the temperature down here in my basement's a little bit chilly, they seem to be keeping up, but I'm also trying to, you know, give them foods that I'm almost certain are going to go easily and quickly. I don't want to have to you know, deal with a bunch of leftovers and worms that can't eat the food that I'm giving to them because of the fact that they're slowed down during these cold days in the winter. So seems like it's working. So that's it for the video, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.